Henry Ford did not invent the automobile, but more than any single individual, he was responsible for the transforming the automobile from an invention of unknown utility into an innovation that profoundly shaped the 20th century and continues to affect the 21st. Innovators change things, they take new ideas, sometimes their own, sometimes other people's, and develop and promote those ideas until they become an accepted part of the daily life. Innovation requires self confidence, a taste of taking risk, leadership ability, and a vision of what the future should be. Henry Ford had all these characteristics, but it took many years to develop all of them fully. Ford's beginnings were perfectly ordinary. He was born on his father's farm in Dearborn, Michigan on July 30, 1863. At this time, most Americans were born on farms and most looked forward to being farmers themselves. Early on, Ford demonstrated some of the characteristics that would make him successful. He organized other boys to build basic water wheels and steam engines. He taught himself to fix watch and use this watch themselves as a test book to learn the basics of machine design. Thus, at an early stage, Ford demonstrated curiosity, self-confidence, mechanical ability, the capability of leadership, and the preference of learning by trial and error. These characteristics would become the foundation of his whole career. Ford could simply have followed in his father's footsteps and become a farmer, but young Henry was fascinated by machines and was willing to take risks to pursue that fascination. In 1879, he left the farm to become an apprentice at a machine shop in Detroit. Over the next few years, he held jobs at several places, sometimes moving when he thought he could learn more somewhere else. He returned home in 1882 but did little farming. Instead, he operated and serviced portable steam engines used by farmers, occasionally worked in factories in Detroit, and cut and sold timber from 40 acres of his father's land. By now, Ford was demonstrating another characteristic, a preference for working on his own rather than for somebody else. In 1888, Ford married Clara, and in 1891, they moved to Detroit. Ford has taken a job as night engineer for the Edison Electric Illuminating Company, another risk of his life, because he did not know a great deal about electricity at this point. He took the job in part as an opportunity to learn. Henry was a skilled student and by 1896 had raised to chief engineer of the illuminating company, but he had other interests. He became one of the scores of other people working in small shops trying to make horseless carriage. Ford read about these other efforts in magazine, copying some of the ideas and adding some of his own, and convinced a small group of people and collegians to help him. This resulted in his first primitive automobile, the quadricycle, completed in 1896. Ford now demonstrated one of his important characteristics, the ability to articulate a vision and convince other people to sign on and help him achieve that vision. He convinced a group of businessmen to back him in the biggest risk of his life, starting a company to make horseless carriage. But Ford knew nothing about running a business, and learning by doing often involves failure. The new company fails, as did a second. His ability to identify and attract outstanding talent. He hired a core of young, highly competent people who would stay him for years and make Ford Company into one of the world's great industrial enterprises. The new company's first cars were called the Model A, and a variety of improved models followed. In 1906, Ford four-cylinder $600 Model N became the best-seller car in the country. But by this time, Ford had a vision of an even better, cheaper motor car for the great multitude. Working with a small group of employees, he came up with Model T, introduced on October 1st, 1908. In 1910, the company moved into a huge new factory in Highland Park, a city just north of Detroit, borrowing ideas from watchmakers, clockmakers, gun makers, sewing machine makers, and meat processors. Ford Motor Company had by 1913 developed a moving assembly line for automobiles, but Ford did not limit himself to technical improvement. He hired a brilliant accountant named Noel Hawkins as his sales manager. Hawkins created a sales organization and advertising campaigns that fueled potential customer appetite for Ford. Model T sales rose steadily while the selling price dropped. By 1921, half the cars in America were Model T, and a new one could be had for as little as $415. Through this effort, Ford turns the automobile from an invention bought by the rich into a true innovation available to a wide audience. By the 1920s, largely as a result of Model T's success, the term pleasure car was fading away, replaced by passenger car. Hope you liked the video. Please like, subscribe and comment and share the video. Thanks for watching.